True cooperation with the higher powers can only come to pass through the channel of action. Who could help you how, if you do not do anything yourselves? Yoga provides a conductor to space and our aid in all useful actions. An understanding of cooperation gives the only true approach. It is most important to understand yoga in its practical application in order to give us the possibility of responding in a practical way. Our help is ready to pour forth, but it must stream to someone and into something. The participation of cosmic forces occurs through their attraction into the channels of action. Thus, quest endlessly for the channel of action. We must set something in motion to which the hierarchy can add its energy. We can say to those who ask for help, act, for then it is easier for us to help, since we can then add our energy to the energy shown by you. The archer shoots his arrow, but the distance it flies can be tripled if the supermundane link is strong. We have already indicated that higher help can be added to a voluntary decision. Only in this way is cooperation developed. Where there is true striving, help is more easily granted. Use the power of the higher spheres. Thereby you multiply your strength. If people only realized how much they can increase their strength by cooperating with the Brotherhood, everyone can add his strength at each moment. One of the most wonderful promises of the Mahatmas is my people can use my power. Every worker receives help from the subtle world, and people would be much more successful if they realized that this invisible cooperation exists. When you are proceeding with the authority of the hierarchy, your fellow human beings will notice that higher forces are standing behind you. Active silence. This is what we call the brief silence sent by a yogi prior to the beginning of his labor or speech. The yogi is sending a sign into the supermundane world, asking for cooperation and guidance. The yogi knows how to send his energy both downward and upward. An experienced guide will come if the work is directed to the common good. One can discern by the yogi's emanations how the influence of the masters affects him. One may be sure that a moment of tense silence can immediately summon high help. Another law is, help only comes at the very last moment, and only after we ourselves have strained all our powers. Devotion will receive its answer if all forces are applied. Our help, as you know, comes at the last hour. At a time of great danger, the guide will protect and warn, but only at the very last moment. One of the reasons for this is, the Mahatmas will not relieve you of any work that has been imposed on you so that you may learn from it and grow by carrying it out. You are right to note that we must do many things for ourselves. In this fact lies the reason why help comes at the last moment, for otherwise it would be impossible to perfect the spirit. That means, if you would strain your forces to the utmost at once, and not at the edge of the abyss only, you would receive this support from above earlier. Why is it on the edge of the abyss that help comes? Tension of the heart is necessary if one is to cooperate with the higher forces, but usually cooperation only begins when that tension has reached an extreme stage. This means that if the heart energy were manifested as it should be, cooperation would take place much sooner. Cooperation with the higher energies can only be achieved if you make your contribution and do not give up. By unwavering striving, despite all difficulties, you attract it. Many would consider our commissions beyond their abilities. Such people measure everything in life by ordinary standards. They would not attempt to develop adamant striving in themselves. We do not commission our messengers to perform impossible tasks. We can just expect the highest degree of striving from our messengers. When there is such intensity, our magnet is active and serves as a strong shield. Let man recall how many dangers he escaped when he was striving forward with all his heart, and how many gates that seemed to be locked were transformed into curtains of light. Let people recall how successful they were because of our help, and how they actually felt that a leading hand had touched them. Strong are those who are filled with gratitude. In the broadcasting on the law of correspondence, we have seen fear attracts fear, and joy attracts joy. Now we go a step further and say, the material and the spiritual world are interconnected to such an extent that each of our thoughts and actions, depending on the intention behind it, attracts good or bad beings from the subtle world. Not a single earthly action remains unanswered on the part of the subtle world. Each earthly thought arouses either joy and assistance or malevolence and destructive sendings from the subtle world. There are indeed helpers from the world beyond, who are close to us and stand by us. Good creatures in the case of good, and dark ones in the case of bad deeds. The invisible friends from the higher world will help, where trust is strong. Take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. Through good works, you literally attract the support of the higher powers. Replace desire with the irresistible command of a pure thought. In this command, you invoke all the powers of light and make their currents act in correlation with your pure striving. One must have such confidence in our help that the magnet of faith will attract the most irresistible energy. Then you are no longer alone, but do work together with mighty assistance from the otherworldly sphere. Help can be immeasurably increased where there is no room for discontent, complaints, depression, and mistrust. People, give your invisible helpers the opportunity to stretch out their hands. Pure, enlightened striving can certainly attract help. It is not often that people can strain their will for the sake of good. No one told them in childhood what a powerful weapon they could possess, and how many supermundane helpers would be attracted by their benevolent command. The higher powers can further nothing but the progress of evolution. Their intervention, therefore, requires that you are on the right path. There cannot be two directions of progress. There can be but one true direction, and all other efforts will be errant. In safeguarding my instructions, you will find protection. When you are swimming with the stream of evolution which leads to the future, you will proceed more easily. You are already strengthened by your being in harmony with the general development. The surrounding stream carries you with it. Strive for the future, and many forces will be summoned to your aid. A man goes with the wind or the current and preserves much energy. When the man enters the right current of evolution, he passes over obstacles with miraculous ease. However, he who has left this spiritual path and goes into the wrong direction cannot count on any assistance from above. Darkness is capturing those who have lost the path to light. We protect only those upon the right path. When someone wavers in darkness, he falls out of the area of the ray. On the contrary, he runs the risk of luring dark beings who strive to make use of him for their destructive purposes. Let us always remember that all possibilities come only with the ray of the teacher, through the way illumined by this ray. But if we are full of doubt, if we deviate in lack of confidence and in fear, then of course we fall out of the path illumined by the ray and fall into darkness. Such a cowardly deserter has stepped from the line and position that evolution had placed him upon, and like the falling star has left his own orbit, has fallen out of the circle of lodge protection. This is the scientific background of the admonition to abandon one's own will and to subordinate oneself entirely to the higher divine will. My children, I have tried to keep you very close to me in storm and tests. It is not always possible, for despite your wish not to do so, you wander off into paths that lead elsewhere. When you have wandered off elsewhere, you make it impossible for me to reach you, and the results of such wanderings are invariably the same: alienation from us and temporary oblivion.